Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next SNES Super Stars run. We've got Super Metroid Reverse Boss Order going on now, which is a super exciting run. And we've got three really great runners to take us through it with Farfalu, McTimothy, and MM2 NES cartridge. Um, so, a bit of background on separation of personal bests here. Farfalu does lead the pack with a 1 hour, 6 minute, and 6 second time. MM2 is a bit behind with 108.11. And then McTimothy has the slowest PB at 114.50. However, it is important to remember that while that is a somewhat big range of personal bests, um, first off, Farfalu is going to be running a much safer route compared to that personal best. All three of our runners are going to be running what's called a double Norfair single Meridia route. As well, everyone is going to be taking safety saves, and RBO is just one of the most volatile categories within Super Metroid. It's a really exciting run, and so I'm honestly super pumped that we get to see three really great runners racing it out. Hopefully, we will see as few deaths as possible. However, this category, Reverse Boss Order, as the name implies, does start with fighting Ridley first, and then Dragon, then Fantoon, and finally Kraid. What that means is we will not have the Varia suit or Gravity suit for the entire run. So our runners are going to be constantly taking damage whenever they're in Norfair, as well as having to apply some pretty tricky techniques for underwater movement in Meridia. And so that really sort of tightens the margins of the mistakes that our players can make without taking outright deaths. And as a result, we will see a pretty fair few safety saves, and most likely at least one death. But it's a super exciting category. Everyone had pretty reasonable Ceres stations in a run this long. Ceres, as fun as it is to try and get the best time on that timer, is really doesn't matter all that much for the overall time. Everything up to this point is the same as a standard Super Metroid run. And really, the first part of RBO, a lot of people consider sort of the quote unquote boring part. It doesn't have a lot of what RBO is known for. It's really primarily just item collection to prepare for everything coming up ahead. But there is still a lot of cool movement involved, and there are, especially within this sort of double Norfair visit, single Meridia visit sort of route, there are a lot of minor route variations that you can make, sort of based on where you sort of want to mitigate risk the most, where you want health refills, and just sort of how many safeties you want. So we might see some minor route variations. I'm not sure if any of these runners do like the gauntlet tank, for example, but if you grab gauntlet, that really changes how you're going to route everything. But yeah, and we already see one of the route deviations here. MM2 prefers to get the early taco tank, which is going to be this blue Brinstar ceiling E-tank he grabs in a second. Now, the reason that MM2 has to go up the elevator first is that this area is not considered to be quote unquote awake, meaning there are no enemies active in it until you go up that elevator. And we need those enemies in order to do the deboost that MM2 is struggling a little bit with right now. And there we go. If you don't get this deboost first try, it can be a little frustrating manipulating that Rio back into the correct position. But what that E-Tank is going to do for MM2 is it is going to provide him with some with another E-Tank for the first Upper Norfair traversal. So he's going to have a bit of an easier time with those hell runs. However, later in the run, he is not going to be getting the energy refill from grabbing that E-Tank that McTimothy and Farfalu will. Really nice climb from MM2, though. And that was actually a really good backup from Farfalu, killing that Waver in Terminator. He missed the first missile on it, and our runners really don't want to be taking damage here, because any damage that they take, they're going to have to farm up before they go into Upper Norfair and are taking all that constant heat damage. So health essentially equates to time right now, which is why you saw Farfalu and McTimothy missiling those space pirates. If you have seen the old route, any percent run, then you will see runners sort of just taking damage to get through those pirates, because you receive an energy upgrade before it ever really matters in that category. However, here our runners are interested in avoiding damage as much as possible. It's one of the really cool things about Super Metroid in general, but especially Reverse Boss Order. I think it's really put nicely on display is sort of the direct trade-offs that you see between resources and time. And so sometimes it is going to be worth it to spend health to get damage boosts that are going to speed up rooms, because it is faster to take those deboosts and then farm that health back up. But sometimes strats that, if health were immaterial, you would go for, you don't necessarily want to go for those same strats because of the required farming and how tight energy gets throughout the course of this run. All right, and Farfalu is doing now what's known as Spore Spawn skip. So The Spore Spawn is a mini boss that is quite infuriating. However, there is a super missile block that he was able to shoot out. Essentially, there are a couple different pixels you can be standing on, and if you fire a super missile from there, the super missile will just reach that block before despawning. And so that's just another really cool route deviation. McTimothy is going to pick those supers up, but he's not going to pick them up until he comes back to Brinstar later on after Norfair. However, Farfaloo is picking them up now because that's actually a pretty good room in order to be able to farm your health up. Because whenever you pick up an E-Tank, it refills your regular health, but not your reserves. So that's a really good place to fill your reserves. McTimothy, we'll see. I suspect he's going to fill up his reserves for a second at one of the Meridia exits. Which allows for a bit of a neater path, but the trade-off is that, oh, he's not. Or, oh no, it's this next room, right? Yeah, so you see he's climbing up that invisible tube. So you get a bit of a nicer path, but you're only farming one bug at a time is sort of the trade-off. As well as he will have one fewer super pack for Norfair, which isn't too big of a deal, but it's not 100% immaterial. Okay, and Farfaloo is also doing early alpha power bombs. And so this, I'm pretty sure, means that he is not going to be picking up Gauntlet E-Tank. This is true for MM2 as well. So Farfaloo has sort of taken care of this entire section of the map now. And Farfaloo is picking up beta power bombs. This is a power bomb pickup that you don't necessarily need to pick up. But if you don't pick it up, then later in the run, you do risk having to pick up a power bomb pack in Lower Norfair. That's just going to be a bit more stressful since you're constantly taking heat damage as you're doing that. Again, there are so many smaller route variations that already we're a little more than 10 minutes into the run, and all three of our runners have done something different. So it's just really cool to see, honestly. And McTimothy is beginning the first Hell Run. This is not the scariest part by any means of RBO, but especially on 2 E-Tanks and 1 reserve, this Hell Run is pretty tricky. But yeah, makes it through no problem and has plenty of energy that he doesn't really have to do any farming before going up to speed. Yeah, so McTimothy grabs the speed booster here. And now we might see something a little funny that happens whenever you're taking heat damage. Yep, sometimes Samus will just decide to ice skate along for a bit. Oh no. And unfortunately, because of sort of that property, it can cause you to be vulnerable in weird ways that you normally wouldn't with the blue echoes, which is why McTimothy got hit by those bugs there, even though he had the speed echoes. Not a big deal, just loses you maybe a second or two. And yeah, I really like farming the CAC and the waiver there just for a couple extra health drops, as now McTimothy is going to grab Wave. And Farfaloo is starting his hell run, as well as MM2 shortly behind. It's kind of cool to see how the early Taco Tank and the early um, Sports Spawn Supers have sort of balanced out. And we saw there, Farfaloo had to pause to fill his reserves. MM2 will not have to do that because he picked up that extra E-Tank. So he is chilling. He's not even going to dip into his reserves. Might have to dip into his reserves as he enters into the speed room. We'll see. With 74 energy, yeah, he's just going to play it safe. Okay, I kind of like that. Leave 20 in your reserves. If he gets hit by something, he'll still have a little bit of a chance. And nothing to be worried about. Now, McTimothy here can do Croc now. However, because we're not doing any stuff early in Meridia, we don't strictly need Grapple. If you're doing Croc now, it is specifically to grab the power bombs as well as have an extra E-Tank for some of the Bryn Star stuff. And yeah, so McTimothy is going to be fighting Crocomire now. I wonder with his route if he does still get Alpha Power Bombs. He might like to do it this way so that he can get Alpha Power Bombs last. Oh, and Farfaloo has a really annoying bug here where if you pause at the wrong time right as your reserve's about to pop, your screen will be dimmed in the same way it was when the reserve was refilling. It's super obnoxious. It doesn't really affect anything gameplay-wise, but it just makes it hard to see, especially... I know Farfaloo plays on emulator, but if you're on a CRT, it can get really dark. And you saw McTimothy there jump up and fire a charge shot into nothing. That's actually a wraparound shot. So because of the way that Super Metroid's maps are structured, the door all the way to the left of the room is open now. So McTimothy ideally is going to be shine sparking to the left in a second and has the door open ahead of time to make that a bit easier. Oh no. Okay, so MM2 took a little bit of a tumble there. Thankfully, with that extra energy, he should be perfectly fine. Farfaloo makes it through the first section of Hell Runs perfectly fine. Yeah, so Crocomire is actually a really nice section in reverse boss order because it gives us a convenient power bomb pack to get, a convenient energy tank to get, and grapple, which is really a big part of what makes these lower loadout RBO runs possible, because grapple is going to allow us to farm enemies a lot easier in lower Norfair. Yeah, and as we can see, Farfaloo and MM2 and NES cartridge, both having gotten that early alpha power bombs, are going to be skipping Croc for now. There is a more beginner route for this category in which you go to Meridia early, and that gives you an extra super pack which will and an extra E-tank potentially. And that extra super pack allows you to have enough supers to kill Ridley with only supers, makes the fight a lot easier. However, it is also multiple minutes slower. But because we are not going into Meridia early, we're not doing any strats that require grapple earlier on, so we can delay Croc until our second Norfair visit, in which our runners are just going to go straight from Croc to Lower Norfair. This room Farflu is going into is a little bit scary. These side hoppers deal 80 apiece, so Farflu can take one hit and he's perfectly fine. And he's about to get the Taco Tank refill. And the reason that you care about this refill is we can see MM2 NES cartridge is perfectly fine because he got the Taco Tank earlier. But our runners have to have about 100 health to do a Shine Spark to get to Waterway E-Tank. And so if you have sort of struggled a bit if you grab an early Taco Tank and then your Croc Hell run maybe doesn't go as well, then you're going to have to farm in order to get the Waterway E-Tank, and it's just not super pleasant. Okay, interesting. So both MM2 and Farflu are actually doing sort of a counterclockwise farm. So instead, what this means is Farflu, a counterclockwise item collection route. So instead, Farflu, by having that E-Tank, has more wiggle room for this Shine Spark here in order to get to climb supers. Because like this is a little bit scary for MM2. He can only take 2 spike hits here. And he is perfectly fine, but any mistake there on those spikes, and that would have been an extremely costly death for MM2. There's no good save point nearby. So really nicely done there. I expect we'll see McTimothy do the same thing. No. MM2's health is pretty low. However, our runners are about to pick up an E-Tank here. There's no danger before picking up this E-Tank. These frogs that Farflu just killed and now MM2 is taking care of, they always drop power bombs unless you're extremely low on health. So it's a nice little pickup. And this section of Green Brinstar that Farflu and MM2 NES cartridge are in is so nice because the 3 items in here are Energy Tank, Super, and Power Bomb, which are 3 things that our runners really need. MM2 NES cartridge and Farflu both got Alpha and Beta Power Bombs, so they don't need to grab the Power Bomb pack that's in this area, but there are some categories like Single Norfair in which that Power Bomb is actually a big part of the reason that Single Norfair is as good of a route as it is. Yep, and now we see MM2 losing a little bit of time to Farflu by having to go pick up this super missile that Farflu got earlier. And now MM2 and Farfaloo are essentially caught up. They both have everything that the other runner has. McTimothy has the entire Croc area done, which is why there is this much of a disparity, even though he looks like he is pretty far behind. That's going to be a couple minutes of difference. So honestly, our three runners are really close right now. Like Farfaloo is in the lead, although I'm not sure between Farfaloo and McTimothy who is ahead. I think they're pretty close, but Farfaloo might be a bit further ahead. But we won't really know for sure until they enter Lower Norfair. Once our runners enter Lower Norfair, they are essentially on the same route for the rest of the run. Some of the runners, depending on their powerbomb counts, leaving Ridley, might have to pick up one powerbomb pack in Lower Norfair that ideally you want to skip. But otherwise, all of these runners are getting the same stuff. McTimothy is picking up Mission Impossible power bombs. This is an interesting choice. You don't see this one as often. And he has the setup, so he's just going to hold jump in right here and be able to wall jump right back out before that crumble block shows up. It's not the absolute hardest trick in the game, but it looks really cool every time you see it, and you feel really cool doing it. As well as it sets up really nicely for entry into Wavegate here. But yeah, now Farfaloo and MM2 have finished their item collections. They are going to kill Croc, take his items, and then head over to Lower Norfair, where the real fun begins. And you saw McTimothy run quite a bit to the left there before doing that Spore Spawn skip super shot. That's because not only do you have to be standing in the correct position, the screen has to be scrolled all the way to the right, or the super missile will despawn before hitting the block it needs to destroy. So it's really cool just seeing all of the intricacies of this game and the way that it does lend itself to having just a ton of small variations in the strats that people use for certain rooms. I love the degree of innovation that you can have, especially in categories like this, where a high level run and a top level run look so radically different that you essentially have to invent your own strats. Yeah, Farfaloo super count is pretty good here too. So you saw he used one extra super for Crocomire. Just kill him a bit faster. Crocomire, he walks back a number of steps depending on the type of projectile you use to damage him. Charge shot is going to be 2 steps back no matter what your beam is. Missile is going to be 1 step back, and a super missile is going to be 3. Which is just another one of those really neat areas where resources equate to time. If you have the additional supers, then you can spend some extra supers and sort of finish the Croc fight off faster. However, you're also betting on better drops because in just a second here, our runners are going to be farming up to full supers. Or we'll see how many supers they farm up to before entering LN. Safest thing to do is farm up to full supers. However, there's a couple spots in Lower Norfair. Against the Golden Terrazzo boss, you're going to get some super drops, so you can count on getting those drops. But you're also using supers to kill him. So, if you don't want to count on having good luck farming the supers during the fight and the potential dangers of the fight taking longer or even dying that can come with that, then you can farm up as many supers as you want before leaving the croc area. It's funny to say, given all of the ways in which this is like the scary category, but there are so many ways in which you can make reverse boss order safer and more approachable. And so it's really cool. A big part of improving at this category is sort of changing your risk versus reward. Yeah, so Farfalu has farmed up to full everything and is taking a save here. I expect all free runners to take this save. McTimothy farmed those power bombs just a little bit early. He's going to catch up with Farfalu a pretty decent amount here. Farfalu is still decidedly ahead. But McTimothy has already done the whole croc section. So McTimothy's farmed up to full supers. And he's like 3 or 4 rooms behind Farfalu now. Yeah, not even. He's 2 rooms behind Farfalu. So this race is really close. And it's super cool, despite all those route deviations. Ooh, yeah, McTimothy's going to play it safe. Because he's about to do what we see on Farfalu's screen, what we call the lava dive. A series of really tricky wall jumps where you are taking damage from the heat in the room and the lava at the same time. And Farfalu did it well enough that he can crystal flash at the bottom of this elevator. While you're on an elevator, you're taking heat damage, but your reserve won't pop until you hit the bottom. So you always know how much health you're going to have at the bottom of this elevator. And Crystal Flash is just a cool little thing that's in the game. This allows reverse boss order to happen, essentially. You get to fill up your health in exchange for 10 of each ammo type. But yeah, McTimothy has made it through Lava Dive. Very nice. MM2 is on his attempt. MM2's probably gonna have to Crystal Flash before... No, he's gonna make it. He might be able to leave his reserve to not pop until below the elevator. We'll see. It's close. Alright, very nice. With 8 energy to spare, MM2 gets that little extra safety blanket of waiting to Crystal Flash until after taking the elevator ride. Because of the way the reserves work, if your reserve pops before taking the elevator ride, then you just end up taking all that damage that you would get to mitigate if you still had a reserve beforehand. And now the Golden Terrazzo fight. Farfalu just has to find the right pixel here. And he's going to use some super missiles. We'll see how much he decides to farm off of Golden Terrazzo. Yeah, all of these bombs that Golden Terrazzo is shooting out have pretty good super drop rates. So sort of however much health you have here, you can exchange for more supers. And Farfalu is getting really nice drops, wow. Yeah, he's going to be leaving here full on supers. Incredible fight for Farfaloo. And I know it looks easy to just shoot out those bombs and collect the drops. It can be really hard to time your fight correctly in order to maximize the number of drops you pick up. We can see McTimothy, maybe not as comfortable with those grapple strats, is employing a different method where he jumps up, shoots down at the bombs from above, and then collects those drops as he falls down. So really cool. Oh, that was really scary what Farfaloo just did. There's a certain number of iframes you have while a power bomb is exploding. But when you do a wall jump away, it takes a little bit for screw attack to activate. So wall jumping with Space Pirate right on top of him, if the power bomb had activated, Farfaloo would have taken like 200 damage. Oh no, McTimothy wanted to shine spark across this next room. It's not the absolute end of the world because we have screw attack, so he can just screw attack through these pillars. However, even though shine spark consumes energy, it's actually more energy efficient to shine spark through those pillars, and it's faster, so it's really nice. But yeah, at this point, the name of the game is essentially don't get hit by anything in Lower North Fair. I would like to personally apologize to McTimothy for saying anything. This is a really volatile category, and that really hurts because there's nowhere to save between Golden Terrizzo and the rest of Lower North Fair. McTimothy was like literally a room away from the next save. Oh, did one of the Rippers just drop a health? I didn't see that. That's like either a 0.2 or 0.4% chance. And really unfortunate. Yeah, MM2 is going to have to do a pretty decent bit of extra farming before Ridley. Oh, Viola dropped energy for MM2. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a 0.4% chance. Yeah, so we can see Farfaloo here. At this point, he's just going to wait for his health to run out so he can Crystal Flash, and then he wants to farm back up to 25 supers. Because supers deal double damage to Ridley, so they are by far the most effective damage type against him. And because he was at full supers before, he only has to farm up 10 supers, whereas MM2 is going to have to farm up a pretty decent number of supers before he even Crystal Flashes. So this is looking really good for Farfy. Oh, McTimothy took an extra hit on Golden Terrizzo. That's within the margin of error. However, it does mean he cannot farm as many supers off of Golden Terrizzo. So he's going to have to be mindful of that and unfortunately leave this area with fewer supers. And the drops just did not give him what he needed. Honestly, he's probably going to want to farm maybe even an extra round of Rippers because they're guaranteed super drops. Oh, Farfaloo. Oh, jeez. Farfaloo is getting really close on some of these Ridley swipes. I think he's good, though. That tail swipe at the end was pretty annoying, but he's okay. But that tail swipe literally means that he got health bombed there. If Ridley hadn't attacked Farfaloo with his tail, Farfaloo would have gotten extra supers and power bombs that would have seriously mitigated the farming that he has to do now. And literally the health drops, they don't help you at all because you just get an E-tank immediately. So that was a pretty horrible move by Ridley. You can mitigate that by when Ridley is bouncing. If you jump into his hand, if you jump into his claws at the right time, then he'll pick you up and enter his death animation. However, if you mess that up, then you just take a hit from Ridley and are almost certainly dead. So I understand why Farfaloo wouldn't want to take that risk. Yeah, and we can see how much more intensive MM2's farming was, unfortunately. However, if he is able to carry a little bit more health after Ridley's death and he gets drops from Ridley, that provides a pretty significant opportunity for him to make up some time compared to Farfaloo. And like I mentioned earlier, Farfaloo here, now because he got bad drops from Ridley, he has to pick up what are known as the Power Bombs of Shame so that he can get another Crystal Flash. No shame in picking them up in RBO. However, in any percent, the reason that they are called the Power Bombs of Shame is you pick them up if you mismanaged your power bombs, essentially. However, here, sometimes you just have to take the L. Oh no. Okay, so MM2 is good. He survived. He is going to pause to fill his reserves so that he gets drops. So really nice from him. Farfaloo really didn't have the opportunity to even get the pause in, I don't think. But MM2 gets 4 supers, which is really nice. He's gonna have enough power bombs as well to skip Power Bombs of Shame, it looks like. Because at this point, he just needs 12. So he's going to have exactly enough to skip Power Bombs of Shame. And these bugs are being really nice on their super drops. Yeah, so some really good farming from MM2. And 2 more power bombs. Sheesh. Another power bomb. Okay. Oh, and unfortunately, McTimothy messed up that spark on the pirate, so those golden pirates take 3 supers to kill if you can't use the spark echoes to kill him. So just a little bit of extra farming. Honestly, not really a big deal for McTimothy. He's probably going to get those supers just from farming up all these power bombs anyway. Yeah, what I just said. And a little bit of an inefficient way for him to cross it. Oh, interesting. McTimothy only has 15 power bombs. So he really lives life on the edge. He basically guarantees that he needs to pick up PBs of Shame then. Yep, and Farfaloo While I was paying attention to McTimothy, Farfaloo made it out of Lower Norfair. We're not out of the woods yet. We get to go into my favorite section of the run now, Suitless Meridia. As MM2 is about to exit Lower Norfair. And with quite a bit of health to boot, which is very nice because Meridia, the next section that we're going into, while not as obviously dangerous as LN, everything hits like a truck. Oh, and beautiful second X Factor there from McTimothy. Really cool. Not sure if all the particles connected. Oh, and McTimothy was trying to go for a manipulation-only fight. If you sort of jump at the right timing in the right place, then you can ensure that Ridley is just going to keep pogoing forever. But yeah, like I was saying, everything in Meridia hits like a truck, and because you're underwater, you can't use screw attack. And you have to remember, at this point in the game, for all these enemies, the game expects you to have gravity. Our runners have no suits. But you can already see some of the super cool tech that Farfaloo is using to move around underwater, freezing enemies, because we don't really have access to wall jumps. And now this is part of why our runners had to grab that grapple beam. There are ways to make it across Everest without a grapple beam. They are not good. There are ways to make it up through this next room without grapple beam. They're not fantastic. And yeah, so that grapple beam tech Farfaloo just showed off, that's called grapple jump. While you're underwater, if you grapple with upwards momentum, and you unmorph, and hit jump before your upwards momentum is gone, you can basically just double jump forever and ever. And now Farfaloo is using the Metroid clip. Essentially, Samus can stand on frozen enemies, and because of some of the wonky ice physics, it allows us to stand up just a little bit in the blocks above and skip the need to have some way to break the speed blocks in the room before Botswoon. Botswoon's a really annoying fight in this category. There are some X Factor setups where we use the wave special beam attack to do damage, as you might see in an any percent run. However, unequipping Ice and Spazer just isn't really worth it, because you're not going to be using it for Dragon. And the last energy tank pickup of the run, that one's pretty hard to avoid. There is actually a pretty sick way to not have to pick up that energy tank that involves you carrying what's known as a spike suit all the way through Suitless Meridia, which is essentially a stored shine spark. However, that's extremely difficult tech. Not only do you have to get a double frame perfect input in Lower Norfair while taking heat damage, but then the entire time that you are in Meridia, you cannot do any inputs that would lead to that would do a shine spark, including just hitting the jump button with no direction applied. So it's really cool tech, but it's extremely difficult. All right, and a really nice gravity spin jump there from Farfaloo. Really nice coliseum. That room is really obnoxious to traverse, and if you fall deep enough into the quicksand at the bottom, there are actually spikes below that quicksand. Frustratingly, so you're taking 60 damage, essentially like once a second. And we saw Farfalu there intentionally take a bunch of damage. That's because Farfalu is about to damage himself down low enough that he can use a Crystal Flash. Because if Dragon picks you up as you are Crystal Flashing, you get a blue suit, which you get a spike suit, which is that tech I was just mentioning, gives you a free stored Shine Spark. And that's what's going to allow us to get out of Dragon's lair. Not this room, but the one after it, the previous room, as it were. So first we get a spike suit, and then in the process of killing Dragon, you can see we have that spike suit because Samus's beam changed color. Now Farfalu is going to be grabbed by Dragon as he's sparking. That's going to turn it into a blue suit, which is much like a spike suit. However, it's not as volatile in that you can do Shine Spark motions and not activate it. You have to hit down first in order to sort of get into the Shine Spark state. So really incredible fight there from Farfalu. Super well executed. Space Jump's going to be really useful in a second for escaping Meridia. Oh, MM2 got the really nice damage boost on those spikes, and you can avoid falling into the water here. However, running and jumping off those spikes is a bit tricky. So, unfortunate there at the end, but otherwise really nice Coliseum. As McTimothy is going through his Main Street climb, freezing these fishies. The enemies in Main Street, it can be really picky where you're supposed to freeze them. But something kind of funny, that fish there that McTimothy was having trouble freezing, that's sort of the most difficult one to set up. But funny enough, the longer you're in the room, the lower that fish actually gets, which means it's almost sort of like a mechanic to assist newer runners. The more you're struggling with climbing Main Street, the easier it gets. All right, yeah, McTimothy did some cool grapples there to skip some of the grapple blocks. And on Farfalu's screen, you might have seen some funky looking space jump movement there. Something funny with space jump is that even if you start underwater, as you breach water, you can space jump, but you can't escape it until you essentially wall jump out of the water, and then you can move as normal. And so Farfalu is grabbing Plasma right now. We get Plasma pretty much entirely for Mother Brain. It would be faster to exit Meridia back the way that our runners came in. If it weren't for the Mother Brain fight, Plasma just cuts the length of the fight by a third, almost, or essentially. Yeah, it looked like MM2 unfortunately had some rough RNG, made the Dragon fight take a bit longer. Nicely executed, though. And now, from Farfalu, we're going to see a set of rooms that we don't see too often, known colloquially within the community as Forgotten Highway. This is sort of the path that the game expects you to take to get going from Wreck Ship to Meridia, in the vast majority of situations in speedrunning, it is not faster to go this way. If you don't need to go this way for like map completion or something like that, then essentially the situation in which you take Forgotten Highway is specifically to go from Plasma to Phantoon, which generally does not happen. But there's actually like a lot of really sick movement in this reverse Forgotten Highway. So it's really cool to see. This room Farflu's going through right now. These are some of the hardest ledge grabs in the game, I swear to God. They feel really good when you do them right. But the ledges poke out at really weird angles. All right, nice extra wall jump there for Farfelu to be able to stay on top of this platform. And we saw again space jump happening just sort of as you breach that water. Chat asking if it's contractually obligated to mention Mappo if I'm commentating an MM2 race. It is, because he would have gotten mad otherwise, and I'd rather deal with the fallout before it happens. Check out MM2 for some sick Mappo runs, by the way. Be sure to follow all of these runners. They all are really talented Super Metroid players, and they all run a variety of categories. So some really cool streams to check out. As Farfelu goes for super easy 2-round here. We don't need to worry about Dopplers or X Factors or anything like that. We have full beam, so 2 charge plasma shots plus some missiles are gonna put him away quite nicely. And nice, what was that? Was that a mid-mid or a slow mid? Nice plasma room there from MM2. Yeah, and this room MM2 is going through right now, called Thread the Needle Room. There are some really fast strats to get through it. It's absolute misery, honestly. If you mess anything up, the room's just cooked. But yeah, Farfelu at this point just has to make a kind of obnoxiously out of the way visit to kill Kraid, and then he's off to Turian. Opens that powerbomb door ahead of time so that he doesn't have to wait for the powerbomb when he comes back up this way. Again, Kraid is extremely out of the way. You go all the way down just to come back up to the room you came from. Our runners probably aren't even going to grab Varia's suit. If they do, it's going to be purely as a safety, because they have more than enough health to beat the game suitless. Oh, and unfortunately, I didn't see what happened with McTimothy there. Oh, he accidentally sparked. That's really unfortunate. And funny enough, despite having the best beam in the game, our runners are going to kill Kraid the same way that they always do. Just 2 missiles, 3 supers. If you have full beam, you can actually end up in a situation where you have killed Kraid before sort of his flag to stand up happens, and he essentially soft locks your game because he's super dead but unable to stand up. There we go. Really clean fight from McTimothy. Alright, MM2 lost a little bit of time there. If Fantoon goes off screen before you get in your charge shot, he sort of has to go through his whole being off screen animation. And oh, MM2 didn't get all the missiles he needed and he was one short. So 3-round with a pity fast. All in all, could have been a lot worse. Alright, and very nice gravity jump there. McTimothy actually did some really heads-up stuff there. You can sort of walk a little bit in the air as you're between gravity jumps. And he needed to walk a little bit to get the couple extra pixels to the left so that he didn't bonk his head on the platform above him, which is always extremely awkward and frustrating. Oh, a little bit of a kerfuffle there for Farflu and Red Tower. Red Tower is a difficult room no matter what the category. Throughout all of the categories of Super Metroid, there's a million different ways that you have to go through Red Tower, and there's always something that goes wrong in them. Yeah, now that all of our runners are finished with Dragon, pretty much the only possible death point left is from Mother Brain. It can happen. Pretty much one double hit catch up, I think, can be enough to kill your run. But barring a Mother Brain death, escaping, sort of finishing out this race with only 2 resets total is really impressive from these runners. And both resets were from McTimothy. That's not a reflection on him at all. Like I have said, reverse boss order is an extremely volatile category, and the fact that we only had 2 deaths is pretty huge. And honestly, you run these races back, any one of these runners could come in first, second, third. But yeah, really sick time from Farflu. He's going to be putting up a 108 or a 109, which is about as good as you could hope for with this route and the safety saves. So, super sick stuff. Unfortunate crate stand up there for MM2. And he, okay, is not grabbing Varia. He just wanted some of the drops. These Metroid rooms can be a bit scary. If with the power suit, if any of the Metroids latch onto you, your health just drains extremely quickly. So Really good on Farflu for avoiding that. Pretty unlucky missile-wise. He did use a lot of pretty gung-ho strats. You have the extra supers, so you want to use them, and he has enough supers that he's fine. I think McTimothy's going for a Shine Spark here. We'll see if he gets it. Unfortunate. I don't think any of the runners got it, but essentially you can charge a Shine Spark there and then spark left through this door across this obnoxious corridor where you can't build up any meaningful speed. Nice baby skip from Farfy. And we'll see what Farflu decides to do for Zeb Skip. Screw Attack actually makes Zeb Skip really annoying. So Farflu is actually going for a Speed Zeb Skip. And gets it immediately. Really nice. So the short charge involved for a Speed Zeb Skip is already decently tight. But the real killer that makes Speed Zeb Skip super hard is that door transition is super laggy, and it's much laggier than other doors in the game, so your timing is just way off if you have not specifically practiced Speed Zeb Skip a bunch. Farflu has practiced Speed Zeb Skip a bunch. He actually comes from the rando community, and specifically the Super Metroid Link to the Past combo randomizer community, where it is very common to finish these without Ice Beam, so Speed Zeb Skip is a really good trick to know. All right, and now all three of our runners have their cumulative 12 Golden 4 bosses killed. So, very nicely done. All right, it was a bit sketchy of a fight. Farflu should be done here. Oh, excuse me, 11 bosses. That pesky Kraid. If I were McTimothy, I absolutely would have gone to the Golden 4 statue room, seen Kraid still lit up, and felt really stupid. So very convenient that he's running and not me. Yeah, so Farflu's performing what's known as the stand-up glitch right now, and this is essentially going to allow him to get in some shots on the final phase of Mother Brain before we normally would be able to. So yeah, once Mother Brain fully finishes changing color there, we're good to go. And then where Farflu was in that crouched animation just now in the middle of the air, if you're on the ground for that, it's really bad news. You get stuck on the ground and you're going to take a hit from Mother Brain, lose some of the time that you get to fire charge shots at Mother Brain, and potentially get the baby stuck. So there's a bunch of intricacies with stand-up glitch to make it faster and also not soft lock. All right, MM2 is setting up for baby skip now. MM2 does go for the boomer skip. It's a little bit slower than a newer baby skip setup that's been found. However, if this is the setup you've been using for years, you just feel a lot more comfortable with it. And nicely done. Like one extra jump in there compared to, I think, what he was hoping for, but not bad. And Farflu is beginning the escape sequence. So just about a minute, it's going to be a low 109 for him. And MM2 takes the safety save before Mother Brain. I like this, especially, in this race, that you're not going to beat Farflu, and you still have a bit of lead over McTimothy. Obviously, this is just a fun marathon race, not any stakes really, but still. Nice play for him, just a little bit of extra security. It feels awful to lose your run right at the end. But yeah, um, really incredible run here from Farfalu, who does finish with an official race time of 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 4 seconds. GG to Farfalu, finishing in first place. And we are joined now by Farfalu, winner of the race. Nicely done.
I love, thank you. Oh gosh, I forgot how stressful it was running this.
Yeah. Running RBO in a race setting feels miserable at times, but you put up a really great time. I figure with safety saves in this route, probably about as well as you could possibly expect.
Yeah, exactly like I said before the race. Anything that's less under 110 is, I mean, yes, I did do a lot of small mistakes, but I'm really happy with any deathless run in RDO so far. So I'm really happy with this run.
Yeah, awesome. I think that that 110 mark is really important for a lot of people. That's a big goal for a lot of runners earlier on. So to be able to get that in a race with safety saves, I think it is really cool.
Yeah, and that was pretty close. Actually, I guess that's why you get water tank in race.
Yeah. Yeah, MM2 was able to pause and manually fill reserves to at least get drops, but I don't think you even had the time to do that.
I think if your reserve pops before getting grabbed, I think you're just dead. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah,
Actually,
he got grabbed, and after he was released, he was able to pause and fill reserves.
okay. But if your reserve is full and you get grabbed, you're guaranteed to make it out alive.
Right, yeah. It's
Well,
just the
if you
difference
jump,
of like a few supers and power bombs.
yeah, exactly. If you jump quick enough and the health drop are not too sparse, you should be good.
Yeah, now MM2 has started his escape in just about a minute. He will be finishing pretty um, pretty decently close to his PB. He has a 108, and this is going to be a 112 finish from him. So, in a category this rough, really cool to see.
I didn't see the race. Of course, I was paying more attention to what I was doing. Was MM2's run deathless?
Yeah, his run was deathless. McTimothy took a death in Amphitheater and had to reset in Dragon after blowing a spark. But pretty much all the way up until McTimothy had that first death in Amphitheater, you two were pretty close, like a couple of rooms apart.
And to saving the animals.
I think he's going for the boomerang. Didn't get it. And because of the animal save, it will be a 113, as MM2 finishes with an official race time of 1 hour, 13 minutes, and 4 seconds. So GG's to MM2 as well. Really nice time. And McTimothy not too far behind, maybe 5 minutes from finishing. really, really decent time for McTimothy too, taking into account that there were 2 deaths. And McTimothy is going to was trying to show us the bully skip. Unfortunately, that's part of the frustration with Zoomer skip is sometimes you just run into a pillar and you feel really stupid. But we are joined now by MM2 NES cartridge, the second place finisher of today's race, GG.
Thank you. Yeah, that was one of the runs of all time.
Hey, it was deathless.
True. I'm honestly surprised the GT mistake didn't go worse for me. But yeah, I just can't count, apparently. Well, I can count. I just didn't count to the right number. That's what really happened.
Trying to remember the GT mistake. Did you have to pop reserve or something?
No, I had 25 missiles going in, did 5 shots, 25 supers, hit them all, and killed GT before I farmed.
Right, that's why your super count was so much lower going into Ridley Farm Room.
I mean, my super count was going to be lower than them anyway because I don't farm as much. But I just did no farming, had 0 supers after GT died.
Yeah,
that's pretty bad. When you have enough L to farm, you should go get them there.
Yeah. Yeah, deathless. Kind of happy with that. Also didn't mess up 2x on Ridley, which I was worried about. Because I think this is the second run I've ever gotten to it. I've ever attempted 2x in.
Nice.
The first one being my PB. So.
Actually, this time, it was not too bad because 2 particle hits and the other just went on the tail. So I didn't lose too much time being unable to shoot. But it wasn't the best, but it worked out.
Nice.
Yeah, everyone's Ridley fight was nice. I think both Farflu and you, MM2, you both kind of got screwed by Ridley patterns at the end. And
well,
Farflu had to get health bombed. Yeah, MM2, you had to manually pop reserve.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was my mistake messing up the jump into the claws.
Right.
And then it spiraled from there a little bit, but it was...
same for me. It was because of a previous mistake. I couldn't get grabbed properly and I had to take the risk to take the hit from the tail, but at least with water weight, I had enough to afford that. It's just you don't get drops after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was glad I got drops, because I don't want to worry about that.
Yeah, you got some power bombs.
Oh yeah, seeing the 2 power bombs there was funny.
In your flower house room, you got 3 power bombs.
Yeah, I was leaving there. I was like, okay, I think I can skip PBs of Shame, and then they gave me 3 power bombs. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I can skip PBs of Shame.
Yeah, 12 is the magic number.
Yeah, 12 is the magic number. I was like, I think 12 is the magic number, but I was trying to do the science in my head to make sure.
Oh yeah, when you're doing one of these races live, you start thinking stupid things. You'll just be there like, wait, is 50 supers enough for Mother Brain?
Yeah, I would have taken that power bomb drops. I mean, even with PBs of Shame, I just had barely the 11 or 12 something.
Yeah, you were pretty much minimum.
Oh yeah, and shoot out to the key hunter who didn't want to die next to the save room.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you also had a really scary worst room in the game.
Oh yeah.
Which one? Oh, you're talking to MM2? Because I think I did.
Well, Farflu, it was just a little bit sketch the way that you were in the Golden Pirates hitbox almost until iframes ran out.
I always do it that way. It works for me.
Yeah, it's fine as long as you don't get hit.
I mean, that's just how RBO is. Just don't get hit.
Like I don't think it was actually that risky as much as it was just very scary to see.
Yeah, because like Samus is inside a pirate's hitbox that deals 200 damage in Lower Norfair in reverse boss order. Not fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remember I had to reset where started of the game because like I messed up the strat and I was like, okay, I'm resetting the room. I'm not dying here.
Yeah,
gonna happen.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think trying to force something in a race is exactly how you end up dying.
I mean, trying to force something in RBO is how you end up dying.
True.
Yeah, and then I was going down F tier and I was like, I don't want to pop reserve here, but that might be the world I'm living in. But then I didn't need to pop reserve, so I was happy.
Yep, and quickly, McTimothy did just finish in 3rd place with an official race time of 1:19:16. Looked like he split a bit late. I think it was like a 11 or 12. But regardless, GG. Very nicely run from him. Unfortunate 2 deaths, but if you asked me the over under at the start of this, I don't know if I would have bet on 2 deaths between 3 runners.
I definitely would have bet over 2 deaths between 3 runners. But I mean, yeah, two deaths between 3 runners and RBO is definitely good. Deaths, resets, what are you gonna call them?
Yeah, one of them was a death, one of them was a reset. So we'll split the difference. Re-death, as it were.
Yeah.
We'll see if McTimothy is gonna come back and call for a post-race interview. But yeah, something that was really cool to see between the 3 of you is even though you were all running single Meridia double Norfair routes, all 3 of you took slightly different routes. So
yeah, I think
that's just how RBO goes.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yes, you can adjust to your gameplay, your style. There's so many things you can do differently just to optimize how you want to play. Of course, you cannot change a boss order, but I don't know. I like filling the reserve first, and I don't know if there's any particular reason, but it just fits better for me getting the tackle when tank later. So I'm full of HP going to climb supers and little details like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we are joined now by McTimothy. GG.
Thanks. GG, guys.
GG, McTimothy.
Farf, how'd you do that in a race?
I have no idea. I have to admit, Dragon RNG was pretty good. I got the perfect RNG, mid at Fentoon, and I have no idea how I survived Modern Warfare, but pretty glad I did.
Yeah, that's impressive. I had 2 deaths.
Yeah, I had just like a okay to bad run something or other with no deaths, so it was fine. Yeah, just my bosses weren't great. Dragon had 1,000,000 swoops and Phantom was a 3 round. And I missed Craig quick kill.
Yeah.
That's RBO.
Missing Craig quick kill does feel especially silly in RBO when it's your last boss.
Yep.
Just get me out of here.
Nobody G3'd though, right?
I spent all that time.
Thankfully, nobody G3'd. I would have G3'd, apparently. I said all of the bosses are down after you killed Fantoon, McTimothy, so...
Well, all the boss that matters.
True.
But we're still gonna ignore Mother Brain like this.
But yeah, we were McTimothy just before you popped in. We were talking about how everybody had a slightly different route. Like MM2 goes for that early taco tank, and then Farfy and MM2 both got alpha and beta power bombs. Where McTimothy, I believe you didn't get alpha power bombs at all.
Nope.
Right, you have that insane 15 power bomb route, which is super cool.
Yeah, I like it. It's as long as you get the 2 multi violas or just regular viola, whichever one they are, just before pillars, you're usually okay, depending on GT drops.
Right.
But then I always have to pick up PBs of Shame on the way out, so.
Yeah, I got a health drop from one of the violas, pre-pillars.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But I get 20 PBs.
But I couldn't see, but do you guys farm these viola on the way out with the spark?
Which ones?
Just before pillars. It's way too scary. I'm not like that.
I grapple farm one of them, but I don't do 2 because I'm too scared to do 2.
Yeah, I don't even care about that.
I get them both, and then I often end up sparking up.
Yeah, that's why I don't do that. It's scary.
It happened twice.
I will choose to believe that's the first and second time you've ever accidentally sparked up there.
Honestly,
actually,
I don't believe it if it's the first and second time he's ever up sparked, ever.
No, I got up sparked it, and then died in, of all places, freaking amphitheater. I don't know what happened there. And then had to redo it, and I was like, well, at least I can try for this again. Never mind.
Yeah, it's you always feel so stupid dying in amphitheater. Like you're just staring that pirate dead in the eye as you take that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I get to watch the reserve pop as I go, well, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, at least I didn't die to bottom, unlike the last RBI run I did in a relay or marathon or whatever. I think yeah, and that one I also did double Meridia, and I got like the one power bomb drop from a Metroid right before Dragon that I needed.
Yeah,
I think I also did surprise 15 power bombs in that one too.
Yeah, RBO as a category is all about finding new ways to die.
Yeah.
For sure. I was hoping none of them would happen today, but that's how it goes.
It's RBO. Two deaths between 3 runners is pretty good, honestly.
And if your absolute shambles RBO time is 119, I think that's sick.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, there's something to be said for that, at least.
Anyways, the stream still stands as king of the RBO leaderboards on race time with his 107.31.
Sheesh.
Which I think is single Norfair. With something. I don't remember.
What a guy.
What a guy. Shout out to the stream.
Single Norfair in a race.
Yeah. But I can finally be free of my 128.51 from whatever that was.
I think I know. I feel like I remember the exact race that was. Was that in like 2022?
I think we just like did an RBO race off the cuff for some reason.
Yeah,
like
I think I remember that.
It was us and one other person. I think
it was MGA.
It might have been MGA, and we were just like, "Hey, who wants to race RBO?" And he was like, "Sure." And then we raced RBO, and you got a 202. Good. Oh my god.
But
yeah. But now we're free. Regardless.
Back on track. GG's to all y'all. Really nicely run. Any closing comments before we pass this off to the next run?
Irish are sick. Thanks for comms. Also, thanks Feasel and SG Crew for doing this marathon every year.
Yeah, glad to be part of it. This was fun.
Thanks, guys, for following me in this crazy race. Thank you, Glove, again, for coming this alone. Unfortunately, we were supposed to have two comms, but Glove can handle things, and I'm sure you gave a pretty good show. So thank you for that, and thank you, SpeedGaming, for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. With all of that out of the way, that's gonna do it for this run. If you would, go follow these runners, Farflu, MM2, and McTimothy. All play a ton of different Super Metroid categories and post some really sick runs like these ones. I'm not sure if there's anything that's actually filling the next block. If not, then the next run's going to be Earthbound at 1 a.m. There might be a run before that. But regardless, that's going to do it from us for now. So with all of that out of the way, we will see you next mission.